Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Corsair Scimitar RGB Elite. This is an unboxing and overview video to talk to you about the Elite, which is the latest update to the range of gaming mice designed specifically for MMO and MOBA gamers. It doesn't mean you can't use it for other things though, and I'll be talking to you about the features of this mouse as I go through this unboxing and overview video, which will include a discussion about the 17 customizable buttons, 18,000 max DPI, 4 RGB lighting zones, and other highlights that include 122 gram weight and 3 onboard memory profiles. It is a wired mouse. It is also quite affordable though. It comes in at around $70 or £75, so it's not too expensive. You do perhaps feel that a little bit though. In some areas it perhaps looks a bit cheaper than some of the other Corsair mice and other gaming mice in the market. However, that number of customizable buttons is fairly insane. If you want a load of quick and easy access buttons on your mouse, then this one is probably the one you're going to turn to. You'll notice, for example, that some of them are textured, and you have 12 buttons on the left hand side where your thumb is, so you have easy access to a multitude of buttons, and they can be programmed with all sorts of things, and I'll show you a bit later on in the software what you can do. But you can customize in macros, actions, different button presses. You can also set up a sniper button, which if you don't know already is basically a press and hold button that changes the DPI level and keeps it at a really low level temporarily while you hold that button in. So that shows that this mouse can be used for other things as well. I've been using it for FPS, but obviously it's aimed at MMO MOBA games where you need a multitude of buttons. You're doing massive amounts of things, micromanaging and things like that. In the box you get this tiny little tool here, which is an interesting highlight in itself. That tool is then used to adjust the buttons on the side. So that 12 button slider that you can see there can slide up and down the mouse, and you can basically reposition it to your liking so that you can put it in the position where it's most comfortable for you, where you have the easiest access depending on where you want your thumb to sit, where you want to use the edge of your thumb or the tip of your thumb, and just the shape of your hand as well. So you can see it here. You unscrew it to loosen it, move it to the position you want it. It doesn't have to be the front or the back, it can be the middle or any position along there, and then just screw it back in and tighten it up again. Pretty neat, simple little design there that makes life fairly interesting and is unusual. It's already unusual to have so many buttons. So as I said, 17 customizable buttons, 12 of which are on the slider, and you can see them here as a close-up view of them. You'll note that some of them are textured, and so it's easier to feel where your thumb is when you're in the middle of a gaming session. It does take some time to get used to, I must admit. I've come from mice that usually have 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 buttons on the side, so it's fairly unusual to have 12. But then you have the DPI adjustment on top, and obviously the mouse wheel and the other standard left and right mouse click buttons that can all be customized within the software as well, so you can change all the buttons, which makes a total of 17, which is fairly nuts. In terms of design, this is a palm grip mouse. You'll note there's a textured rubberized grip on the right hand side. It's obviously a right-handed mouse. It's not going to be any good for left-handed gamers. And you also notice this slight rubberized texture to the housing as well, and basically sits in the hand nicely. One thing I did notice, it felt a bit odd to me. It was hard to get used to the size of it. It's not small, it's not quite that big either. I said that I'd like to compare it with the Corsair Iron Claw. I'm going to do a video separately to compare those two. Though they're not exactly the same, they're similar in the design aesthetic, and I feel like the Iron Claw is a bit larger and a bit more comfortable, and I'll show you a snippet of that at the end. Here you can see the braided USB cable. Of course, there's obviously got a very nice design quality to it, even for something that's more affordable. So this is one of the most affordable mice that you can get, and it's a very nice mouse still. I just found it sat in the hand a bit oddly. I've got quite a large hand, and I do like a palm grip, but there's something to it. I can't quite put my finger on it. Perhaps it's because it hasn't got the thumb rest on the side, but it does have that rest on the right hand side, so you do have that for your pinky finger. RGB lighting zones, you have 4. You have the Corsair logo at the back. the front lighting and the mouse wheel that you can see here is a close-up, and obviously all these things can be customized within the IQ software. And as I said, you have 3 onboard profiles as well, so you can set up different profiles and then switch between them depending on what you're playing or what you're doing. So you could set up different ones for FPS games, for example, different one for a MOBA game, perhaps different for in Windows, and customize it the way you want it. And here you can see the Iron Claw that I was talking about earlier, which also has a mass of buttons but nowhere near as many, and has a similar kind of shape to it, but is, in my opinion, much more comfortable mouse. And I'll just dive into the software to show you that as well. So here we are in the software in IQ. So now what you can do, you can see here, is that you have an action section. From within here you can remap the 12 buttons on the side and also access the other ones too. Left and right click, middle click on the mouse wheel, and the DPI toggle buttons. And but the main action is obviously on this side panel. One of the things I've done as an example, as I've remapped button 3 to be sniper mode. Now sniper mode, as I mentioned earlier, is basically a setting within the DPI levels that allows you to change into a much lower DPI level almost immediately. By pressing and holding the sniper button sets you at 400 DPI. One of the things you'll note here as well is that one of the RGB lighting zones on the side changes to yellow while you're holding it, so you know that you're in sniper mode and that's engaged. And you should notice anyway, because it's quite a difference in DPI levels, just to show you how drastic that is. Set it to 18. I can't even control my mouse, and then I press and hold that, I'm suddenly at 4 again. Now the DPI buttons obviously then switch up and down between these 3, and you have the ability to customize those within the software and then switch between them on the fly, thanks to the DPI button too. So that's one of the things you can do. You have the option to obviously remap any of these buttons. So if we just take a new action, for example, we're going to assign it to button 1, and then you can choose from all these different sorts of things. So you can see you could record a macro on that button as a series of presses. You could set up text presses, do media playback, so you could pause, play, rewind music. It's pretty cool. You can launch specific applications. You can disable keys that you don't want to use. You can see you can set up enhanced keys, page up, page down, all those sorts of things. Numeric keypad, all sorts of different options set within here allow you to customize a million different things, and obviously you can then set it up the way you want it. And there's so many different things you can do anyway, whether that's button presses on the keyboard, so you then have access to more buttons because you've got those 12 buttons that are within easy reach on the mouse itself, so that's fantastic too. As I said, you can also customize the other buttons too on the top, so that then gives you the ability to do that, and you just switch between the views to then see what they are. So you've got a profile switching button here. As I said, you've got to 3 profiles on board, and you can change that as well to whatever you want it to be. Again, you could have that as a macro, as a specific media button, and be able to play music, for example. And that's something you can do. Just quickly do that. You can easily do that too, and that's pretty neat. The ability to be able to do anything you want with it. So having that many buttons. RGB lighting zones, you can see you have the front zone that I was talking about earlier. You can see at the front here. Then the scroll wheel, the side zone that you just saw, which is down here, and then the logo at the back as well. So you can customize all that. And then the DPI levels up to a maximum of 18,000, which is very high to be fair, but you can only set 3 levels on them with the 4th one. While they show 5, you can't actually turn those on and off, not sure why. And then you have the various calibration and performance options in here too. So you can see you can do quite a lot of things within the IQ software, to change the mouse and customize it the way you want it, and that is where this mouse shines, because of the sheer number of buttons it has that you can program any which way you want for the games that you're playing, to make the most out of them and to beat your enemies. Hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting or hilarious. Be sure to subscribe and check out these other videos, as well as taking a look in the description for links and other information you might find useful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or anything you'd like to see extra about this, and have a great life.